Fundraise is an all-in-one, get-it-done faster, don't be stupid anymore fundraising platform for nonprofits. Accept donations, manage donors, and change the funding world. Learn more at fundraise.io. Hello, and welcome to the first episode of Nonprofit Pro's new podcast series, The Nonprofit Voice. Today's episode, Creating an Effective Online Marketing Strategy, What Nonprofits Are Missing Out On, is sponsored by Fundraise, a company that uses technology, design, and strategy to build the best tools for nonprofits to increase donations and manage donors. My name is New T, Editor-in-Chief of Nonprofit Pro, and I'll be your host for today. As experts in the nonprofit sector, we all understand how difficult it can be to fund marketing strategies for our fundraising initiatives. That's why we have to look toward optimizing online tools that are more cost-effective and still give us the exposure we need to bring the donors and donations that we want. In today's podcast, we will discuss the key parts of creating a successful online marketing strategy and some tips and tricks to add to their repertoire along the way. I am joined by Leanne Alameda, founder and principal of Alameda Marketing Solutions. She has over 20 years of experience in directing and implementing best practices in marketing, communications, branding, and creating solutions in both the private and nonprofit sectors. Thank you so much for joining me today, Leanne. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
That is so great to hear. So let's jump in on today's topic, shall we? I think the world, technologically speaking, has developed drastically over the past few years, but especially so in the nonprofit sector. What are your thoughts on the recent development and innovation and what it means for the current state and the future of the nonprofit sector?
Yeah, I think we're really witnessing technology lifting up nonprofits and other social sector political organizations so that they can be more effective in fundraising, raising awareness of their work, informing and organizing online, and also, I think, empowering supporters to be involved and easily share information. From a marketing perspective, using online marketing is a cost-effective way to raise visibility, share stories of impact, and inspire greater support, whether that's volunteer involvement, donations, or even making connections to foster collaboration. And social media viral campaigns have been a great tool, as we saw with the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge, or UNICEF's campaign that asked people to like their Facebook page and they would vaccinate a child. Crowdfunding has proven to be an effective grassroots fundraising strategy. And we've also seen, online petitions apply pressure to make change and bring attention to timely issues. And even movements have been born on social media, like Black Lives Matter. From a programmatic perspective, I also think nonprofits are using technology to improve their programs, accessibility to the beneficiaries, and expand their impact. I recently worked with a great organization called Students Rising Above, and they help first-generation students get into and through college and onto career ladder jobs. And through their coaching program, they were helping hundreds of students in the San Francisco Bay Area. But now they've moved that knowledge and their resources and access to those advisors to a technology platform, and they're helping thousands across the country. So I think as far as the future, people are really living on their devices and are more and more technologically savvy. We've seen this with the Florida students using social media to move their agenda forward. And so I really think nonprofits can continue to embrace and innovate using technology, in a way that's authentic to who they are. And it's also an opportunity to be creative and even bold. And what used to be successful, like trying to get press stories or sending out mailers, is just going to the wayside.
Terrific. That's some great insight, Leanne. I couldn't agree more. But so I'm not ruling out print, and I think we all understand that it still plays a major part in how we connect, communicate, and retain donors. But can you talk about why nonprofits should not overlook the opportunities that online marketing has to offer?
Yeah, I think nonprofits should not overlook online marketing because it's so ubiquitous, and really see it as an opportunity to raise awareness and activate and fundraise. If you're going for individual donations, then you have to be thinking about online donation methods and campaigns. We've seen an increase in Giving Tuesday donations, and, they were up another 20% last year, according to Blackbaud. Mobile donations have increased. So nonprofits should, make sure that they're making it easy for people to donate on their phones, on their website. And online marketing is also a way, to really keep donors involved and updated on your progress and engage and foster, donor retention. People want to see that their money is having an impact. And this is a great way to do that on a regular basis with email campaigns, social media, blogs, videos. It's a way for nonprofits really to be able to expand their story and, get people excited about what they're doing.
Definitely. There's so many resources out there to be taken advantage of in this sector. And I think for the most part, a lot of people are rather confused by online marketing. Not only are the strategies becoming progressively advanced, the technologies available out there are becoming unlimited, and it's a lot to take in. Can you break this down and simplify it for someone who is just starting out? Like, what components are typically involved in an effective online marketing strategy?
Yeah, sure. There's a few areas I could recommend. So I think it's really important to start with some planning that outlines your goals. Who is your audience? What do you want them to do? What kind of content is going to resonate most with them? What's the best way to reach them? And then also, what resources do you have to do this? I think it's important not to overextend. I really recommend starting small and experiment, and then expand as you get more comfortable and see what works. Another step that I think can be overlooked but is important is defining your voice as an organization. Do you want to use humor, or is it more professional and reserved? So thinking about what you want your tone to be online, what's authentic and in line with your organization's brand. I would also do a little bit of research. Look at 2 or 3 other organizations in your space or that you admire that are doing online marketing. Look at their social media, their email marketing, their website, to be inspired, but also see how you can stand out. And it's also a great way to see what content is getting the best results. And then it's easy, I think, to get a little overwhelmed in developing the content. So I would say, look at ways that you can reuse and recycle what you have. You probably have a lot of great content in your current library, maybe reports that you've done. So don't feel like you have to start from scratch. See if there's something that you can pull in shorter format and then feed that into, say, social media. So, for example, if you have a beneficiary story in your annual report, pull out a quote from it and share it online. And I also think don't do it alone. Look at your network and ask guest bloggers to contribute and tap into their networks, to help promote it. And get staff involved in generating ideas or even producing content. I think that when development and communication teams can involve staff in their work, it really has positive outcomes on several levels. A very practical tip, too, if you're looking to establish yourself as a thought leader, sign up for Google Alerts or other newsletters in the subject areas of your field. And then you can get articles that you can share with your point of view or identify emerging trends that you would want to comment on in, say, a blog. And then lastly, I would say measure the results. It doesn't have to be super in-depth, but decide how you're going to measure success against your goals, and then do that on a regular basis so it doesn't become unwieldy. And that will really help inform your future strategies. And I also think it's a great way to show others in the organization or even the board the progress that you're making.
Excellently, and those are some excellent pointers. So we can't talk about online marketing without at least touching base with social media. And I know you talked a little bit about it earlier, but there are so many out there between Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube. I've heard those in the sector recommend picking 1 or 2 platforms and just focusing on those. But then there are others that have said to use everything available. to get the most exposure. What's your recommendation for a social media strategy?
Yeah, I think it's about quality over quantity. And what I mean by this is to pick one or two things and do them well. So think about when you've gone to an organization's social media platform and the last post is from 5 or 6 months ago and what impression that makes. So I think ask yourself what you realistically know you can manage resource-wise and will help you best achieve the goals that you've set. So, for example, if you know you're not going to be able to post several times a day to Twitter to make yourself visible, then maybe that's not the best platform for you. And I also have to say, given, Facebook's algorithm change, unfortunately, unless you can develop posts or campaigns that get people commenting, your organic reach is gone, and so you have to pay for it. So you have to take that into consideration as well now. But I think there's some ways to get around this by engaging staff or a board or volunteers or partners to post and share content on their personal feeds. And you can make it really easy for them, even writing the posts for them.
Perfect. So piggybacking off that a little bit, I wanted to kind of transition over to video storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of a hot topic as of late and really has the potential to really engage donors and really show them the nonprofit's mission. But is it easier said than done?
Yeah, video is definitely becoming more and more important. And it really is one of the best ways to get people to engage with your content. Studies have shown that people are just much more likely to look at a video than to read something. And they've also seen that videos get much more organic traffic. Even, the word video in the subject line of emails gets like a 20% higher open rate. So with social media and emails, that format is a little bit more forgiving when it comes to the video's production quality. So it can be something simple using a phone or a pad that you film. If you're doing a video for, say, an event or for maybe particular audiences like high net worth individuals, then I think investing in a produced video that gives people, a good overview of your organization's work and the impact is really worth the investment. And then you can also put your video on the homepage of your website, which has proven to be very effective. There's also some inexpensive resources now to get animated videos produced as well. So the cost of video is coming down and its demand is going up. So making video a part of your mix can be really positive.
Great. So you gave us some really great insights today and some great pointers on online marketing. To kind of wrap it up and provide our listeners key takeaways, what would you say are your top 3 do's for online marketing and what are your top 3 don'ts?
Yeah. I'd say for the do's, number 1, start with planning. Don't just start posting to social media just because everyone's doing it. Understand what your goals are and who your audience is. Number 2, when you're developing content, an email or social media campaign, keep it simple and think about what your call to action is for the audience and then make sure that's really easy for them to do. For example, if you're doing a Giving Tuesday social media campaign, make sure people can easily donate on their phones via a link or even from the platform itself. And you have to keep in mind, you only have a few seconds to keep people's attention, so make sure it's really clear and easy. And then number 3, I'd say measure your results because you don't want to be wasting time on ineffective strategies, and it's also a great way to show the impact of your work. For don'ts, I'd say don't lose sight of your brand in these efforts. And by that, I mean make sure your tactics are authentic to your organization and the tone and the look of the content is cohesive. 2, don't do it alone. Involve your organization's network, your staff, your board in these efforts. They can be a great resource for getting ideas and creating and spreading content. And then 3, I'd say don't overextend and let quality suffer. There's too much mediocre content already out there, and you need to try to create something people want to engage with. So if you're starting out and resources are tight, I'd recommend doing 1 or 2 things, really well, and then moving on from there.
Well, that about wraps it up for today's episode. On behalf of Nonprofit Pro and Fundraise, I want to thank you for listening in on today's podcast. Leanne, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining me today and sharing your insights on online marketing.
Great. Thank you so much for having me.
I'll see you in the next episode of The Nonprofit Voice. Built on a foundation of nonprofit experience and innovation, Fundraise makes fundraising enjoyable. Learn more at fundraise.io.